The United States of America, a nation born from defiance, shaped by visionaries, and propelled by the relentless pursuit of freedom. It began as a collection of 13 rebellious colonies, daring to challenge the might of the British Empire. From the battlefields of the American Revolution to the drafting of a constitution that would redefine governance, the birth of the United States was nothing short of extraordinary. But the story of America is not just one of triumph. It is a saga of conflict, expansion, and reinvention. A young republic would double its size with the Louisiana Purchase, endure the bloodshed of a civil war, and rise from the ashes of division to become an industrial giant. The 20th century saw America transform into a global superpower, leading the fight against tyranny in 2 world wars and waging a decades-long Cold War that would define modern geopolitics. Yet, this nation's greatest battles have not always been fought on distant shores. From the fight for civil rights to the struggle against economic crises, from the terror of September 11th to the challenges of an ever-changing world, the United States has faced every trial with resilience. Today, it stands at a crossroads, looking toward the future while carrying the weight of its past. This is the story of America, its triumphs, its struggles, and its unyielding spirit. A story of revolution, innovation, and the enduring quest for a more perfect union. The United States of America was founded on July 4th, 1776, when the 13 American colonies declared independence from Great Britain by adopting the Declaration of Independence, primarily authored by Thomas Jefferson. The colonies had grown increasingly frustrated with British taxation, lack of representation, and restrictive trade policies, leading to the American Revolution, 1775 to 1783. The war began with the battles of Lexington and Concord, 1775, and saw key moments such as the Battle of Saratoga, 1777, and the harsh winter at Valley Forge, 1777 to 1778, where General George Washington led the Continental Army. With the help of France, the US won the decisive Battle of Yorktown, 1781, leading to the Treaty of Paris, 1783, which officially recognized American independence. After independence, the Articles of Confederation served as the first US government framework, but proved too weak to manage the country. In 1787, the US Constitution was drafted, establishing a federal government with a system of checks and balances. It was ratified in 1789, and George Washington became the first president. During this period, the US expanded westward. The Louisiana Purchase, 1803, negotiated by President Thomas Jefferson, doubled the country's size. The War of 1812 against Britain reinforced American sovereignty. The Monroe Doctrine signaled a policy of opposing European interference in the Americas. The early 19th century saw growing divisions over slavery, leading to conflicts such as the Missouri Compromise, 1820, and the Compromise of 1850. By the mid-19th century, tensions over slavery led to the Civil War, 1861 to 1865. When Abraham Lincoln was elected in 1860, several southern states seceded, forming the Confederate States of America. The war began with the Battle of Fort Sumter, 1861, and saw significant battles like Gettysburg, 1863. Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, 1863, freeing enslaved people in the rebelling states. The Union, led by Ulysses S. Grant, won the war, and the 13th Amendment, 1865, abolished slavery. Lincoln was assassinated shortly after victory, and the US entered Reconstruction, 1865 to 1877, aiming to rebuild the South and integrate freed African Americans. However, racial tensions persisted, and Jim Crow laws later enforced segregation. The late 19th century saw rapid industrialization, urbanization, and economic expansion. The Gilded Age, 1870s to 1900s, was marked by technological advances, railroads, steel, electricity, and the rise of business tycoons like Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, and J.P. Morgan. Immigration surged, with millions arriving through Ellis Island, while workers faced harsh conditions, leading to the rise of labor unions. The Progressive Era, 1890s to 1920s, saw reforms in labor laws, women's suffrage, 19th Amendment, 1920, and efforts to curb corporate power. The US also expanded its global influence, fighting the Spanish-American War, 1998, and acquiring territories like Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines. During World War I, 1914 to 1918, the US initially remained neutral but entered in 1917 after German submarine attacks and the Zimmermann telegram. The war ended in 1918, and President Woodrow Wilson pushed for the League of Nations, though the US did not join. The Roaring Twenties brought economic prosperity, but the Great Depression, 1929 to 1939, followed after the stock market crash of 1929, leading to mass unemployment. President Franklin D. Roosevelt introduced the New Deal, a series of programs to aid recovery. During World War II, 1939 to 1945, the US remained neutral until the attack on Pearl Harbor, 1941, by Japan. The US joined the Allies, fighting in Europe and the Pacific. The war ended in 1945 after the US dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, forcing Japan's surrender. After World War II, the US and the Soviet Union became superpowers, leading to the Cold War, 1947 to 1991. This period saw the Korean War, 1950 to 1953, and Vietnam War, 1955 to 1975, to contain communism. The space race, with the US landing on the moon in 1969. The Cuban Missile Crisis, 1962, nearly leading to nuclear war. Meanwhile, the Civil Rights Movement, 1950s to 1960s, fought racial segregation and discrimination. Key events included the Brown-Verdens Board of Education, 1954, ruling, Rosa Parks bus boycott, 1955, and Martin Luther King Jr.'s March on Washington, 1963. The Civil Rights Act, 1964, and Voting Rights Act, 1965, ended segregation. The Cold War ended in 1991 with the fall of the Soviet Union. The 1990s saw economic growth and technological advances, including the rise of the Internet. The September 11, 2001 attacks by Al-Qaeda led the US to launch the War on Terror, invading Afghanistan, 2001, and Iraq, 2003. The 2008 financial crisis led to a major recession. Barack Obama was elected as the first African-American president in 2008, passing the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. In the 2000s, 10s and 2020s, the US faced political divisions, social movements like Black Lives Matter, the COVID-19 pandemic, 2020 to 2022, and rising global tensions with Russia and China. Today, the US remains a global superpower, influential in technology, economics, and military affairs, while continuing to navigate political and social challenges.